back to the Gateway RV Transport Podcast. We're here with our good friend, Patrick Heatherman. How's it going, Pat?
Busy, boys, and it's the way we like it.
Well, we're excited to get your perspective on a few things, Pat, but maybe to start, can you tell us where you're from and just a little bit about your life?
Well, I was born in '69. This year has been kind of a rough year. Started from RV and moved into a mobile home. I'm really rather excited about it. I finally feel like I'm at home. Originally started driving truck in December of '97. Goes back quite a ways, yeah.
Who were you driving for?
Originally went through a driving school and went to work for a company called Golden Eagle Auto Transport out of, I know it was southern Pennsylvania. I know it's over around Philadelphia area. I don't remember exactly where they were out of. That only lasted about 6 months because he was terrible with money.
Yeah. And you've been with Gateway for about a decade, right?
I've been here at least 10 years.
How did you get connected with us?
Well, it's funny. That's a long story. That journey starts with me ending up in Indiana. I've been in Indiana, oh boy, quite a while. Been here 10 years. I'd say I've been in Indiana about 13. So I ended up in Indiana, ended up meeting with the missionaries at Gia Mosner, and ended up coming to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and met Kevin. Didn't have any idea what he did, but I got to the point where I needed something else to do because I just couldn't. It seemed I've been an over-the-road driver for a long time. I mean, most of what I've done is over the road. And he said at any one given point he could help me out. Well, I got curious as to what he was doing because I was starting to hate doing what I was doing and wanted more control over what I was doing. So came here, and the first time here I was here while Dave was still alive. That was short term. I went back to driving regional, and they kept wanting to do a sleep apnea test on me, and I was trying to find a way around that. It didn't go well, but that's another story. From that point out, the second time I came back, I haven't left. I mean, this is home to me. I can't say anything bad about it. It's got its ups, it's got its downs. It's a trucking world.
Well, and just to give a little bit of context, your situation is a little bit different than most of our drivers, in that you drive our truck. And so you have helped a lot of our drivers. So if anybody listening, you might know Pat or his wife, Lottie. Pat and Lottie do a lot for us. I can call up Pat anytime and say, hey, can you help me get this one out, or help somebody in the yard? And so we really appreciate that.
See, I'm curious about going a little further back, Pat. So we know you now, I've known you for a few years, but the Pat of the 80s, that's what I want to know about. The wrestling Pat. So I didn't, relatively recently found out that you were a wrestler in school, and not just a wrestler, but you were, at least according to your recollection, quite good. Tell me a little bit about that.
Coming up through high school, my wrestling started in 8th grade, so in middle school, I started wrestling, and I met up with a wrestling coach by the name of Jack Stambro. And I met his coach, his name was William Layton. Now, I didn't know until after I got to know Jack a little bit better. Jack was an Olympic gold winning wrestler, and Mr. Bill Layton, or William Layton, was his coach. So, yeah, I got the best of both worlds. I wrestled for at least 2 years. I wrestled my 8th grade year and then my freshman year. Both years, they have what they call a Roman Greco style wrestling, which is you can go after legs, but you can't. It can't be your main focus. So if you're shooting on, trying to take a man down, you can't just concentrate on his legs, basically. That's what that is. Anyway, both years I got into the finals, and Jack's youngest son, which is Jack Jr., would either wrestle 105 or 99, and I'd wrestle whatever he didn't, 99 or 105. Both years, the two of us ended up against one another in the state finals. I never beat him by pinning him. I always beat him by points. I mean, unfortunately, the rivalry between the two of us was ugly. I can't say that I was a good winner. I was a poor sport. I giggle about it, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I know high school wasn't good for me. I played football, I wrestled. I ended up with tendonitis in my left ankle. That was the end of me in sports altogether, because I just couldn't. They were constantly taping my left foot, trying to give me strength in my foot, and it just wasn't working out. So after 9th grade, I just lost interest in it and stopped. I don't know what happened past that. With Mr. Stambro being my wrestling coach, he was also my phys ed teacher. If he thought for a second you were going to be a good wrestler and you didn't even get a passing grade in phys ed, so I just didn't show up. I knew he was going to give me an incomplete, so it didn't matter. But as it went along, things got better. I got a better phys ed teacher. Yeah, I had to go to phys ed every day of the week, but that's another story.
When you were in that phase, looking forward, can you recall what you would wanted to be, what you wanted to grow up and do for work?
It's funny that you ask me that, because I remember being a kid and my father showing me, introducing me to the truck driving world. And for me, it was always, I've always wanted to do things and go places. Really, looking back, one of my bigger aspirations was, I remember seeing this commercial on television about a diesel mechanic. I remember talking to Dad about that, and he wasn't always the highest on supporting things that I wanted to do, kind of through the idea that I didn't have the responsibility, didn't have the knowledge to do that. So I kind of shot that whole thing right straight out the window. And I was in between jobs, and I had the experience to know how to load a car carrier. Because when I came to Pennsylvania, where my dad was a car carrier. I had that knowledge. I knew how to load and unload. Problem was, I didn't have a CDL. They kept sending me out for jobs that I had an interest in, and I qualified for, but I didn't have a license for. They wouldn't help me. They took my unemployment away from me. Finally, it came down to a elongated process of lawyer and the state getting together, and they came up with a program that paid for me to get my CDL, get my physical. I don't remember. They paid me by the hour to go to class. So in December of 1997, I finally completed my 8-week training course. Probably one of the better things I've done, because once you get it in you, it just doesn't go away. I mean, I kind of teamed with my brother for a while and got a taste of what it was like, and I knew once I got that taste that it wasn't going anywhere, and that's kind of what's led me to where I am. When I was a kid, I used to want it. I loved to go places and do things. I can't sit around. I worked in a warehouse. I did all kinds of things trying to make money. I just wasn't happy. So finding that moment of being happy, for me, my getaway point is getting behind the wheel and just forget about everything other than the responsibilities of the road, and it's time to go.
If you could go back in time and start again with your knowledge now, would you have become a diesel mechanic? Would you have done something else? Would you still got into trucking?
You know, the only thing I might change might have been maybe going to look back as far as even high school. The one thing I can say I wish I had done was completed high school because it would have given me more options. Because I never did. I mean, unfortunately, I'm the kind that doesn't like to just sit around and do nothing. I had a few chances to take the equivalency or the GED. It's my fault. I'm not going to say it isn't. I mean, born and raised in upstate New York. And, it's funny that I can say there were two things to do and I did both rather well, drink and get in trouble. Well, the state had honored me a test that I could show up for and take as a solo person, the only person in that room. I didn't want that kind of isolation, but it's what my counselor thought was best. I just didn't show up. I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't do it. It's just something at that point in the game I wasn't going to do. Because she forced the idea. I had no idea she had done what she did until it was too late.
So the timeline, so you grew up in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
Then where did you go from there?
Well, like I say, there were two things to do. I got lots of trouble in New York. And my father and my stepmother, Karen, lived down in Pennsylvania. Dad came to me and offered me a way out of New York. Now, being the person I was and as much trouble as I was in, New York wouldn't grant me the transfer to Pennsylvania. What they would grant me is to cross the line and say, just don't get in trouble. So because I was on 5 years of probation, I kind of had to toe the line. They wouldn't transfer me because they were afraid of my background that I was going to get in more trouble. Now, when I say my background, you have to understand me. I was a troubled youth. I was in a whole lot of trouble. So to see me now and to see me then, I see a lot of changes. I don't always acknowledge all them changes, but they are good. So, am I happy? Things have changed completely. I still trying to grasp on to, I said earlier about the home. To me, we've had one other home in Huntington that was a complete nightmare. Yeah, there's some minor things where we're at, but honestly, I can't say it enough. I haven't felt like I was at home. I do now. I mean, it's hard for me to put into words, but it's kind of like, I don't know if you're going to understand what I'm saying. As a truck driver, a fellow truck driver, being a CDL driver, some of you will understand. It's like learning to back up or learning to shift. One day it just all falls into place. And it says click, and everything just kind of falls into place. Well, that's kind of what's happened with the house. I'm not unhappy. I've tried a lot of things to make alterations and make things better. But, it takes time. I'm learning patience, something I'm not good with. But, that's not all been golden, I can say that. The trucking world, I don't care which end of it is, it's not any different. So just certain aspects anyway.
You've transported, so just going through work history, starting from the first trucking job that you had, what the name of the company, what it was that you transported, and how long were you there? And let's go through your work history.
Golden Eagle Auto Transport. I hauled cars. I'd say I was there about 3 months. Trying to remember, I think after Golden Eagle, I went to work for Werner Enterprises. Werner Enterprises was about a 53-foot dry van, because I did some of that. I also did some refrigerated stuff in a 53-foot refrigerated trailer. I was there about 2 years. From there, I went to work for, Auto Elite. I hauled brand new Land Rovers out of Baltimore, Maryland, out of the port. Had to be trained to do that because they were doing it on a flatbed. Basically, you had about 6 inches between bumpers, and I'd put 4 of them on. There were certain ways you had to tie these vehicles down because the frames would have slits in them, and you had to have the hooks and the chains pulling the way that the frames were angled, because otherwise you'd break the hook and bend the frame. So you had to kind of learn this. Well, like I said, before I went to work for Golden Eagle, I kind of gave myself a how-to and what if with my dad's truck. So that would be an education I had. How long did I work for my dad? That's a blur, probably about 3 or 4 years. What did I do for him? Well, he hauled cars for the auction, so I kind of did sales, went over and handed out business cards and gave prices to what we'd charge and when we could be there and so on and so forth. After getting back on track, after Werner Enterprises, I went to work for a guy named Danny Sanger. Did some flatbedding for him. Did what they call a covered wagon, hauling coils, bars. I hauled onions for many years, still hate them to this day. Yes, it's funny, but you get so, and why do I hate onions? This is funny. You're sound asleep in the bunk, you've gone to bed at an ungodly hour. You're sound asleep in a bunk, the sun's just coming up, you can smell these things cooking behind you. It's like, oh, I don't want to get up.
The smell of fried onions is not too bad.
Well, underneath a tarp, they stink. So you get up and you go. And I mean, you want to talk about somebody that just was a total bad egg. I do all kinds of things that just wasn't supposed to happen. So I'm not going to brag about that. Those are days of past. But I ended up leaving Danny Sanger, going back to Auto Elite, and made it there almost 9 months. Around holiday times when things got really crazy, they'd get a lot of the rental cars in, the rental vehicles in, because we didn't haul cars. We hauled Land Rover, Discoveries, and whatever else they'd give us. Anyway, I ended up going to Buffalo. This is funny. Unloaded in Buffalo and Rochester, 2 stops, and ended up at the airport, something I never did. I had a load of cars. You want to feel like an idiot? For months and months, you're hauling Land Rovers, and now you're loading 4 cars and have no idea what you're going to put on and where it's going. And I mean, funny wasn't the word for it. I won't tell you, I made probably 30 phone calls and within 15 minutes trying to figure out how to load this trailer. Because I hadn't put a load of cars on this trailer. It had just been Land Rovers. I mean, you got that much room between them. That's all you had between them. Well, you had to figure out how to get it on there because the load was going to Baltimore and there was nobody else available to take that load. So you were going to take that load. Yeah, I laughed at myself. I couldn't figure out how to get it on. I put it on, take it off. Put it on, take it off. Like there's only four vehicles. There's only one different model that's a different size that I can put in a different place. So finally I put it on and says, you know what? It's going to have to work. Took off with it. Well, from Auto Elite, I went to Metal Transport out of New Jersey. Actually, they were out of Oswego, New York. We did a lot of
Metal?
Alcoa, which is aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we hauled a lot of coils, a lot of finished product, a lot of unfinished product. The difference in the two was, one was finished and one wasn't, but there was a bigger difference. The aluminum you get that was finished wasn't oily. The stuff that wasn't was. And the stuff that wasn't finished was really soft. You really had to be careful how much you really got carried away with chains. One of the more serious places metal transport was about things being secured was Alcoa, because they were that picky. I mean, they'd come down and make sure you had edge protectors on, protecting the chain against the coil so it wasn't hurting the coil. If you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, yeah, they'd call. There was a lot of points that we'd bring in stuff, recyclable stuff, and our safety guy would catch these guys at ungodly hours over at the mill unloading. Why? Because they were not securing stuff. You're bringing back stuff that's punched into like a 12-pack box, and what it is stuff cut in ribbons. I don't know how you're going to secure that. I mean, realistically, it's not only is it sharp, but how are you going to get something across that's not going to just tear that load all apart? I asked that question too many times and finally got tired of the answers I got. Got tired of, seemed like it was every time I went home, I was going to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, loading. I wouldn't get any time at home because they had nobody to go down to the mill and load. It'd be me. Now Pat's going home, gave the load to him. Well, anyway, from metal transport, where did I go? I know I sprained my ankle at metal, so I'm trying to think where I went from metal. A lot of companies in between. I think I went back to work for Danny because I wanted to be at home more, and I would do the Lancaster, Pennsylvania to trying to think. Basically LA area, unload over there in Los Angeles. Yeah, my dispatcher Tom thought it was funny. He came up with a new word for his onions. Oh, we're gonna haul breath mints. Oh no. I made contact with a broker out in California area. She really liked me. She hated Tom. I'd get a load of dry cell batteries, and they'd come back to Chamberlain, Pennsylvania. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. Unload, trailer was clean, could go right straight to the mill and load. Yeah, it made my job so much nicer. Of course, he hated me. We caused a lot of problems. Towards the end of Danny, one of the drivers had an accident. He was in New Jersey. We were doing a lot of Anderson door and window stuff. He got tired one night, pulled over on the shoulder in New Jersey. It's not you can't. He was tired and going to get him a little bit of a nap. Well, unfortunately, and I don't know what the outcome of this was, but he got rear-ended. They don't know if the gentleman died from impact or whether he had a heart attack and then smacked into him. So Danny had just redone the insurance on the trucks, so you can only imagine what that did for the insurance. So West Motor Freight out of Boyertown, Pennsylvania bought out Sanger Trucking. The only good part of that was Danny had just upgraded his whole fleet. I had a brand new 2006 Freightliner Classic. In the sun, my truck would look, moments it would look blue, and then as the sun would start setting, my truck would look purple. It's kind of unique. Not all the trucks were the same color, so yeah, it kind of got to pick out what I wanted, or he actually gave me that truck. My wife at that time and actually my current wife both like purple, so it would have been an easy choice. But I did a lot of flat padding. After Sanger Trucking, I took about a 2-year vacation because I got hurt pretty bad. Had some serious problems. Ended up down in Tifton, Georgia, where my dad and my stepmother were. Ended up in a rehabilitation center because I became really really difficult. I guess the word would be you couldn't talk to me, without me having all kinds of problems. So I ended up in a hospital, rehabilitation. Yeah, I'd had a run with drugs. You're not talking small time stuff. I got pretty well addicted to alcohol, and it tore my life apart. So I ended up in rehabilitation. While I was in rehabilitation, I got hit with a chair in the back of my knees. Fortunately for me, in that 2 years, I got rehabilitated because when I first got here to Indiana, I had a horrible time walking. I was walking on a cane.
You got hit in the back of your knees with a chair?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody hit you with a chair?
Yeah. We were in a counseling session. This guy was on what they call a 72-hour probationary thing. And because he showed up at rehab intoxicated, he had to dry out for 72 hours. Well, I was in the same scenario because I wasn't sober 72 seconds, let alone 72 hours. So you had to go through these meetings, you had to attend this, you had to be sober 72 hours. Well, I was nearing the end of my 72 hours when I got smacked in the back of the legs with a chair. You're talking like right back behind my knees, and I folded like a cardboard box. I hit the ground. To tell you how bad it was, in the rehab center, they had regular rooms, with regular beds. They put me in a handicapped room because I couldn't stand without help. I couldn't sit without help. Well, it came my time to go home. I went home that way. Pretty upset, pretty excited. Now, my ex and I had just moved to the area, so I was pretty twisted about where we were and wasn't happy about why we were where we were. So we'd kind of run out of options of places to go and things to do. So kind of ended up at my dad's house. And, well, shortly thereafter, my ex and my stepmother had at it. And I made a decision that I really didn't value. You got two decisions. Okay, you're not husband and wife, but there comes a point you got to make a decision, family or, my family or her or my girlfriend. Well, I wasn't going to throw my girlfriend out, just drop her off at a bus station. I've never been that person. I don't care how mad you make me. I'm going to make sure you get somewhere safe. Then you and I are going to have it out. And one of us has got to go because somebody's going to get hurt. I'm just that person. I'm not going to throw you out of the truck because that's not going to happen. I have learned that doesn't solve anything. But one of the things I learned the hard way with Werner, I had an argument with one of my students. He had two choices. Take him to a terminal or you're fired. So there were your choices. But I've never been that unruly that I'm going to throw somebody out. Don't ever think that. If I can't get along with you, we'll work it out. So that being said, I end up in Indiana, and, well, I was unemployed for quite a while, a good 6 months, 7 months or so. So I know my unemployment, I had run 2 years out of my unemployment and had to do something. I had a CDL. I think the first job I got was with Pascal Truck Lines out of Murray, Kentucky. I wanted to say something different, but I was there almost a year, tried the owner-operator thing, and I can tell you that didn't work. Most folks that have driven truck would understand that 4 miles to the gallon, even empty at 55 mile an hour, doesn't work, especially in a Freightliner Century that's supposed to get the ultimate in fuel mileage, and I just couldn't get the truck to get anything over 4.5 miles to a gallon. It's like, what is up with this truck? Well, I went from owner-operator to company driver, and things just like everything else, I didn't feel like I fit. So I went to work for Swift Transportation out of Phoenix, Arizona. I didn't work, I never actually got that far. I did their Costco dedicated out of Illinois. I think I made it about 90 days with them. So I ended up with influenza B, ended up with almost 105 temperature. What caused me to leave there was the day they were sending me home, they wouldn't let at that point, my now wife, they wouldn't let her help me clean the truck out. They didn't want that responsibility if something happened to her. Well, I didn't want them pawing through my things and deciding what they wanted because I didn't have the strength to be in the truck. So it was a kind of a catch-all. Well, I ended up cleaning the truck out, ended up coming home, got released to go back to work, found another job with Transcor at that point they were out of Indianapolis. I was there just about a year, maybe a little longer. Really liked that. They were doing a lot of Midwestern, did a lot of drive-in for them, hauled a lot of rolls of paper and a lot of cardboard recyclable stuff. It was kind of fun. From Transcor, after leaving Transcor, I came here to Gateway. And pretty much that's where it ends. Yeah, I've done a lot of things in between, a lot of odd things, but I'm not unhappy. If I could redo it, how would I redo it? Like I say, there are two things I'd like to redo. One, get my high school actual diploma, and possibly as a positive to what I'm doing, have the diesel mechanic material, the background to back me up, as opposed to, yeah, I know things, but do I really?
What were some of the major turning points in your life?
Well, that's funny. There's been some major ones. When I met Kevin at church, okay, it wasn't immediate. But one of the bigger signs, me ending up in rehabilitation in Georgia wasn't the first time that I ended up in rehabilitation. I came here and things just fell apart for me. Just couldn't deal with things. You couldn't talk to me because they were constant tears rolling down my face. I couldn't control it. So I ended up in rehabilitation here. I ended up over in Warsaw for 90 days. Well, yeah, for 72 hours, and ended up meeting up with a counselor. They finally got it in my head. You can't do this alone. So this is where, me going back to Gia's and meeting with the missionaries kind of started that change. Meeting the elders from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and young men are something else. I mean, okay, they do their transfers, they're here for so long, then they go. I mean, that was part of it. But I got the idea that, asking for help wasn't such a bad thing. I had an interesting time with asking for help because it was a shameful thing. I mean, it just seemed like it wasn't the thing I wanted to do because I wanted to be able to do this stuff. The problem is, and I've learned this the hard way, you get into things, you take something apart, and you didn't pay attention. You didn't know what you were doing, and now you have no idea how it goes back together. So now here sits whatever you have that was working, sort of. Now it's all apart. You don't have any idea what you were doing and putting it back together. Well, I've slowed down. I realize that life's full of things, and you've got to make turns. Unfortunately, in the last few years, I've gone through a divorce. That was very difficult. I've met my present wife, Lottie Shalata. Really, the biggest change in my life, besides Kevin and the Kennedys, was Lottie. I mean, really, really, I'll be honest with you, this is hard for me to say, but I wasn't used to anybody caring. I mean, really, I just didn't care. It was just one thing that I wanted to do. Go, go, go. Didn't care. Wasn't used to somebody saying, you're doing something wrong. Slow down. No, I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to go. It took me having to take somebody else into consideration to realize that. And actually, as much as I don't like saying so, this one of the first accidents I had with Dwight, and I put that in the ship sheet in the ditch.
Dwight is a truck, by the way.
And Shipshy is a trailer.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. We know what you're talking about. We speak the language.
I put the truck in a ditch because I was pushing. I mean, if it was just me, maybe I wouldn't be so upset about it. But I've always had this thought in my head, and Lord forgive me. But by any means, if I hurt anybody innocent or somebody died, I don't know how I'd handle that. I mean, realistically, I'm not a bad person. I know I've got a lot of things going on. I'm very confused. But, the best thing has come my way because it's the longest job one of the longer jobs I've ever had. And actually, as a truck driver, the longest job I've had, Gateway. I'm not ashamed of it. I've learned a lot. Kevin, you guys, Melanie, all been here for me. And I mean, for me, it's been more like a family than I'm used to. Because growing up, I didn't have the support. Because my father and my stepfather would both say, when you grow up, you're never going to amount to anything anyway. You hear it enough, you believe it. So, wanting to be a diesel mechanic, you don't have the experience, you don't know what you're doing. I was perfect for that because I was trainable. Now I've gotten older. You're not going to tell me that I can't do that because I don't hear you. I'm going to break it first, and then I'm going to have to replace it.
You touched on a couple of things actually that I think are really important, Pat. First one is I share with you one of the biggest life-changing moments I had was meeting Kevin and Melanie. The first time that changed.
There was a sudden burst of light. The doctor.
The serious. The other thing though is serious. Is I think we all have to feel like we're cared about and have somebody else to care about. I think that's quite profound, actually. Having somebody else that you got to take care of changes your perspective, and so just in the time that I've been able to know you, I've seen changes, and I'm sure you've seen changes in us. You've been here long enough that you probably have seen a lot of changes in and around our company, family, individual lives. But we are very grateful that you're a part of it. There's excuse me. It's interesting doing these podcasts, hearing people's backgrounds, where they started, how they ended up where they are now. And I think it's important that the people in our lives all have these different backgrounds and experiences. Whatever those crazy things were that you had to experience to be here, in a kind of a selfish way, I'm glad it happened the way that it did. In that, it meant that you got to be a part of the Gateway family, part of the crew here. So we are grateful for that.
And I'll just tack on I met you, Pat, when I was a teenager. I think the first, when you were meeting with the missionaries, and I think that's the first time I met you. So I've known you for probably 14 years, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I've worked with you for, 8 to 10 years of that. But, I've got to see when you were going through your divorce and then when you met Lottie and you got married to Lottie. You married Lottie a few weeks after I married my wife. So we've been married about the same amount of time, about 7.5 years. And I think Lottie has been a really good thing for you. She's a very positive, fun, easy to joke with person, which maybe we take advantage of that too much. I mess with Lottie all the time, but she's so good natured about it. And I think that brings out the good parts of you. So I got getting to know you over, all these different years, seeing the power of optimism change who you are. I think And you might agree, sometimes you've been susceptible to maybe having a really negative view. And then over the last several years, you've become a much more positive person, maybe more optimistic person, just a pleasant guy. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I really am grateful that I get to be, friends with you and Lottie and get to joke around with you and that you take it well. And so I think your life is on the right track. You're doing a lot of good. You care about people and you're getting your life situated. It's kind of fun to see. Getting you set up in a home.
Yeah.
It's cool.
When I first started, and I'll be honest about it, I'm not going to ramble on about it, but when I first met Kevin, I know I wasn't the most positive person in the world. I had a really grim a grim outlook on things. You could tell me something 100% positive, I'd burrow underneath it and find the worst thing about it. I'm not that person. I'm not looking for the negative thing about it. My problem is it's like they say, old habits are hard to break. So sometimes I am guilty of it. But you get to being, I'm not a young man anymore. I'm 55 years old. You get to this day and age, you realize that life is what it is. It's not easy. The Lord didn't want us to go through this alone. Lottie needed me as much as I needed her, and sure, it's not been the greatest thing in the world. But I've said this on numerous occasions when it comes to her. I can't do it without her. I mean, realistically, to be without her, I'd be lost. Yeah, okay, things haven't been peachy keen here lately, but Lord's testing me and preparing me for something. I don't know what, but it's been a battle.
Let me just share a quote from a wise man.
I was about to do the same quote.
I know you were, I can tell.
Go ahead.
But all right. This is a Patrick J. Heatherman quote. If you're not going uphill and it's not a battle, turn around. You're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
If it's not an uphill battle, turn around. You're going the wrong way. I heard it from one of the prophets.
Oh, I thought that was a Patrick Heatherman original quote.
Well, I wish, but I heard it in a talk in a Latter-day Saint talk, and I don't remember who it was, but I heard it said that if it's not an uphill battle, turn around, you're headed in the wrong direction. So I don't remember who said it, but at that point in the game, it's something that stuck with me. One of the elders had a saying stick with me, and it's all good. Yeah, it isn't, but sometimes you just got to take it.
Well, it is. It's a perspective thing. I remember interviewing my grandpa, who was in the Marines, and in this interview, I was asking him about relationships that he made and people that he met, and he had just a battle-hardened supervisor or something like that, a guy that has just seen the worst of humanity. And he worked with him closely for years. And a problem would arise that other coworkers would say would just be kind of had lost their minds about how were we possibly going to overcome this issue. And this friend and supervisor would say, I don't see the problem, because of the perspective of has seen what real problems are, and our day-to-day problems, quote unquote, are really not that big of a deal. So it's a matter of perspective. Now, that being said, I'm not discrediting or discounting that we all go through daily stuff, and it's difficult to do. But when you sit back and have a perspective, we got things, we're in a pretty good position. Before we wrap up, Pat, I wanted to ask you if you could give one piece of advice to a new person doing this RV transport. What would you tell them?
One piece of advice: you're not going to get rich overnight. Take your time with it. Really, I remember a gentleman that used to be here by the first name of Tony telling me, you got to make your decision. When you make that decision, decide that you're going to live with whatever the consequences are. I've done quite a bit of trucking. I'm going to tell you that, again, I've worked for some of the industry's biggest. I've worked for some of the industry's smallest. It's not about size. It's all about what you make it. There are days that this job stinks. I don't care what it is. I could be driving anything. I could be flying an airplane. driving a boat, there's days and things about every job that you're not going to like. Once you've made your decision, make that decision in your head, and this is what I want to do, and you're going to live with that, regardless what the consequences are. There's no better way. I mean, honestly, excuse me, I've had lots of thoughts in my head about a lot of things. Grass seems greener on the other side. It isn't. It isn't going to get better. You're just going to start all over and wish you hadn't. So.
Well, thank you, Pat. Jordan, do you have anything else?
No, just again, I want to say thanks for all you do for us. You're kind of guy that'll drop anything and help us out, and we appreciate that.
I'm me. I promise. I mean, at that point in the game, I meant what I said. You know, I want to do everything I can do because my getaway from my anxiety is to get in that truck and go.
Get in the truck and go. All right.
Well, we better stop holding you up so you can get in the truck and
You're
go.
good.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Well, thanks for listening. Thank you, Pat. Thanks, Jordan.
All right.
All right.
Till
Take
next
care.
time. Thanks.